So in the last 2 months, I barely posted two videos, and some people might think that I was too bummed out because of the Trump losing the election, but it wasn't the case. Believe me, I wanted Trump to win, but that wasn't it. It was what came after the election that made me not want to post videos and not take part in this movement until things calm down. People storming the Capitol is why I didn't post too much the last 2 months, because I saw so many grifters that didn't care about you, about your political belief or your political aspirations. They're not really right wing, and even if they are, they were there just to make that quick buck, gain a little bit of audience, and ride the Trump coattail, while not meaning to do anything. I didn't want to help those grifters enrage the Trump base to the point where we got to this right now. People are actually storming the Capitol, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But essentially, the grifters was the first reason that I didn't want to post. I don't want to name any name, but I saw many of them rise to fame just because they preyed on those that were disappointed by the election result, legitimate or illegitimate as they might be. On top of the grifters, I want to blame the media, okay, for getting us to where we are right now, for having protests, riots going on around the clock this entire summer. DC was literally on fire every street you would go to, but they were calling it peaceful protests. They were telling people they shouldn't leave their house or visit their loved ones, even as they were dying, while they're letting BLM tear down the streets. Okay? Completely gaslighting the entire Trump base, making us feel like we're idiots. Calling this a peaceful protest, but people actually going to the Capitol where the elected representative preside, where the truest form of government stands, and protesting, comparing this to a bunch of looters tearing down entire cities, burning them to the ground, most of it self-owned businesses, and very rarely a government building. Okay, so that there's the media gaslighting us into all of this, but they will never uh, take responsibility for it. I didn't want to post videos because I didn't want to contribute to the Trump or bust movement that has risen. Because believe me, I'm more on the right-wing side of Trump, where it's a mixture of policies and politics. It's not just purely right-wing. I'm not a right-wing Republican, more of a right-wing libertarian. Um, and Trump covers more of the policies I believe in than most of the um, more traditional Republicans. But I don't want to see this Trump or bust movement that essentially lost Georgia for the Republicans, and now the Democrats, who you think are communist socialists who would bring the end of times to America, have control both houses as well as the presidency because you went Trump or bust. Believe me, the Republican establishment is awful. It should be torn down, but it should be torn down through your votes. And yeah, I get it, you don't believe in the election process right now because you think it's rigged and it's fake. But even so, losing the Senate gives the Democrats basically carte blanche to pack the courts with any judges they want, and essentially controlling the whole country right now. Those same people who you are so afraid of, you just gave them full control because you couldn't handle Trump being out of office for 4 years. Again, legitimate or illegitimate as it might be, giving them control and not trying to pressure Republicans into changing the laws around the election, making it more transparent, enforcing a voter ID law. You can't have that right now because the Democrats control both the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So even if you get legislation to the president, he would strike it down. But you can't get past the House, and the Senate would never vote for it because the vice president breaks the tie, which we have right. Okay? And again, I want to reiterate, I have zero problem with the form of the protest, actually going through the biggest representation of your government and protesting there. And I hate the false equivalencies being drawn right now by lefty Twitter saying, oh, if it was BLM, they would have shot them all on the stairs. Meanwhile, 4 protesters died during this protest. One of them was shot by a cop. She was unarmed. Obviously, she was storming a government building. She had no business being there, even if she was protesting. But this is one of the most peaceful protests we've seen in recent history. It might sound like a meme, but it's true. And we have 4 people dead. I don't think you have 4 protesters or 4 unarmed protesters dead during the entire BLM movement this year, which says a lot. Not only that, but the Antifa and BLM protests actually burned down self-owned businesses, private companies. Okay, it had nothing to do with the government they were talking about. They ruined entire communities. And for what? And now we have people who are so enraged they actually believe they don't trust the government and that everything is a lie and a fraud. They have zero faith in the establishment, in the media, for telling us for several months that we shouldn't leave our homes no matter what, but it's okay for BLM to tear down entire cities. That if you leave your house, you see your entire city burning, but it's mostly peaceful protesters roaming around the city. And they don't believe it anymore. They're completely disenchanted with our media, with society, with the current political landscape. So they went ahead and wanted, I guess, a poorly thought out revolution by marching on Capitol and not letting them confirm Biden to be the president, because they see their whole system as corrupt and unfaithful to them. So they took, honestly, the most reasonable step as far as it goes for revolution, but revolution in itself is unreasonable. Okay? Now I don't want to compare them, and I'm not going to compare them to the founding fathers, but it's pretty much the same. They overthrew a government they didn't believe in and didn't want here, and established their own. And it seems like the Civil War meme by Tim Pool is actually coming to life. So I set up a couple of tabs right now that I want to talk about from some of the more ridiculous side of the protest and what it resulted in. So the first thing is apparently Twitch is removing the PogChamp emote. Sorry, I'm not a Twitch guy. I barely know anything about Twitch, but I know it's one of the most popular emotes. In fact, it probably is the most normalized one, and you have heard PogChamp or Pog and have seen this emote. And Twitch now came out with a tweet: "We've made the decision to remove the PogChamp emote following statements from the face of the emote encouraging further violence after what took place in the Capitol today." So as you can see, this is from the protest. I think somebody said Pog or streamed it on Twitch or something like that, which resulted in them removing the emote from Twitch, which is ridiculous. Okay, moving on to the next tab. This is Twitter removing 2 of Trump's tweets. One of them was a video of him calling his supporters to move back from the Capitol and stop the violence. But Twitter is actually trying to combat the quote-unquote inciting of violence by removing Trump's call to end violence. Okay? I don't know if they're trying to make it look like Trump didn't made any attempt to stop these protests and make people leave the Capitol. But if they're thinking that this is going to calm things down, them censoring the current president of the United States, which what started this protest to begin with, they're sadly mistaken. This is the wrong way to go about it, and Tim Pool has rightfully stated they are using a flamethrower on the fire and telling you they are putting it out. Okay, removing the president's call to end the protests, even if he's saying that the election was fake and a fraud, removing it because of it, saying it incites more violence, is going to incite more violence. Moving on to the next step. Do you still want to defund the police? Because this is what you get. And sure, I can take the argument that even with the super inflated security budget, military budget, people took on the capital very easily, which means they don't really need the money. But there is legitimate voices in the extreme leftist movement that are calling for the abolishment of police, for defunding the police entirely, and not just taking some money away and moving it to other programs, which will result easily in this, because the armed populace is mostly right-wing. So if you have no police to defend you, and you're going to have a civil war, the right-wing is going to win, obviously. So you still want to defund the police. Moving on to the next tweet from Elon Musk, which could be interpreted in two ways. This is the domino effect meme. A website to let women on campus, which is Facebook, has led to the biggest domino falling, which the capital seems to be under control of a man in a Viking hat. Now this could mean that he's calling out Facebook for letting people congregate there and planning this protest, and this is the end result essentially, or is either flaming Facebook and social media for censorship. I think actually it's the first one. It's not typical for Elon Musk to actually side with them or go against Trump supporters, but it seems to be more like this. It seems like he's calling out the QAnon crowd for congregating around Facebook. Moving on to the next tweet. This is what I talked about. These are four headlines and tweets of people supporting protests, riots, and even looting, but now calling out people for actually marching on the government's building. Okay? One author's controversial view in defense of looting. Pelosi on Christopher Columbus statue destruction. People will do what they do. Protesters in Baltimore threw Columbus statue in Arbor. Okay, the other one. CNN Chris Cuomo, quote, "Please show me where it says that protesters are supposed to be polite and peaceful." Kamala Harris, if you're able to chip in right now to the MN Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota. So this is by their own doing. Like I said, the grifters are to blame for capitalizing on it and making a quick buck off of the pissed off Trump supporter base. Sorry, that's my alarm. And the media is also to blame, largely to blame, for calling the super not peaceful protests during this entire summer peaceful, for pushing for lockdowns while cheering BLM as they tore down your cities, but now as the right-wing crowd marches onto the Capitol peacefully, I might add, and had 4 people die during these protests. Okay? They are trying to say it's different. Moving on to the last tab with a glimmer of hope. Larry is saying that he's currently in DC and have stolen Tulsi Gabbard's hard drive. Her feet pics are within our grasp. So with this positive note, I'm going to end this video. Hopefully you got the right message out of it. I'm still right wing. I still support Trump. I still wanted him to take the presidency this election cycle, but it seems like it's not that way. I'm not going to grift and try to make a quick buck of you whilst enraging you and actually making you march on the Capitol and lose your life potentially, just like the 4 protesters who died, which is more than you can say about any protester during the this entire summer. The left has protested. So yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. Leave a like if you wanna help the channel out, subscribe if you're new, and if you wanna help support this channel as I go back to posting hopefully daily, you can check out the Patreon link in the description. I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments and discuss with you. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video.